Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 15th. Today we will continue to see a lightning, especially over the eastern half of the Great Basin, across much of Utah, and then also back into parts of eastern Nevada. These thunderstorms will continue to be a mix of wet and dry, with the better potential for wetter storms over the southern portion of Utah into the Arizona Strip. We also will see some isolated thunderstorms north today across parts of central Idaho, and also could see a few strikes in parts of eastern Idaho as well. These storms would be on the drier side. We also will have some gusty winds continuing along the Sierra front, similar to what we've seen the last couple of days. On Friday, our lightning activity should start to diminish, but still be located in some of the same areas across Utah and eastern Nevada, especially in the higher terrain, and then still the threat for some isolated thunderstorms up across central and eastern Idaho. Also, westerly winds will increase over parts of central and eastern Idaho as well on Friday with drier conditions, and this could affect the Howell fire over southern Idaho, but for the most part will be just north and east, and we'll be looking for any holdovers. Weather conditions quiet down on Saturday temporarily before the return of monsoon moisture. Looking at our smoke dispersion forecast near the surface, we'll continue to see smoke affect the northern half of the Great Basin throughout the day today, and also in the upper elevations towards 6,000 feet. Again, we will continue to see that smoke affect the northern half of the geographic area depending on fire activity to our west. Over the last 24 hours, we've seen significant lightning activity again across the southern half of the Great Basin, especially across Utah, the Arizona Strip, and eastern Nevada, and did have a few isolated strikes up in central Idaho. These thunderstorms produce wetting rains over parts of especially southwest Utah into parts of eastern Nevada, and were on the drier side further north. Great Basin fire activity is indicated here. We continue to see elevated initial attack across the Great Basin, and we did have one new large fire over southern Idaho, the Howell fire. Over the last 7 days, we've seen the precipitation mainly over the southern areas of the Great Basin with that monsoon moisture, and over the last 14 days, many areas are still below normal with precipitation, but again, you can see these spotty areas where we did see lightning activity bring some wetting rains. Our current ERCs have dropped over the southern areas of the Great Basin and over eastern Utah with that monsoon moisture in place for a few days. However, further north, we still see ERCs above the 90th to 97th percentile in these drier areas of Idaho, Wyoming, northern Utah, and northern Nevada. Looking at some of our ERC charts, up north over the northern third of the Great Basin, these ERCs are definitely setting records for the time of year at that 97th percentile. And further south, you can see the sharp decline in the ERCs closer to normal, or even in some areas below normal for the time of year just with that moisture. We will see drier conditions this weekend, and again, that moisture will not make its way into the northern half of the Great Basin, at least not this week. Our satellite picture shows that ridge still dominating the Great Basin with that moisture in place for those thunderstorms yet again today. You can see on the 7-day fire potential map where we've seen those repeated thunderstorms with some wetting rains. We do have some green areas over the south still areas anywhere north of Interstate 80, really on the dry side, and then we do have that threat for drier thunderstorms up over central Idaho today. Looking at the weather picture, you can see where those thunderstorms on the left may be located by this afternoon, again mainly in the south across Utah and eastern Nevada, but also those isolated storms up into Idaho and Wyoming today. Winds will generally be just light to moderate out of the southwest, with some breezier winds in the Sierra front, similar to what we've been seeing recently, and also over parts of northern Nevada into southern Idaho. By Friday, that drier air works its way into the Great Basin, again keeping that thunderstorm activity over the eastern half of the region, but it is up across Idaho and central and eastern Idaho where we will see those potential for drier thunderstorms. Even if activity is more isolated, again, that's where the main threat is with the really dry conditions and the high ERCs. Winds also look to pick up in parts of the Snake River Plain and over eastern Idaho on Friday, so we do have a high risk for that. You can see on Friday, thunderstorm activity may be a little bit more isolated than what we have seen, but still plenty of thunderstorms across Utah, eastern Nevada, and then again you can see that spattering of isolated storms in central and eastern Idaho into Wyoming. Winds still remain light to moderate, kind of breezy over southern and western areas, but you can see where those winds increase across Idaho, so that certainly could affect our large fire activity, and also we could start picking up some holdovers, or certainly with the lightning up in those areas could be some new starts. On Saturday, that drier air pushes east across the Great Basin, so we will see minimal lightning activity, could still see a few thunderstorms in the far east, but for the most part drier conditions. We will see relative humidity drop into the single digits to teens. Even over southern and eastern areas, we'll see that humidity drop into the 15 to 20% range. Winds will be light to moderate on Saturday. You can see the forecast amounts of precipitation with the better chances of wetting rains over southern Utah and the Arizona Strip, and also in some of the higher terrain of Utah, but anywhere further north and west on the fringe of that moisture, still very minimal precipitation. As we move into Sunday, we see the next quick surge of the monsoon moisture into mainly southern and western areas of the basin. So this lightning will initially move into southern Nevada. Could also see some thunderstorms on Sunday as far north as parts of the central Sierra. So we will be watching those areas as well. These thunderstorms look to be a mix of wet and dry, so we do have some high risk on Sunday in the south. It'll just be a question if some of these areas in southern Nevada really recover from the moisture to have a really big threat from thunderstorm activity, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. On Monday is definitely the bigger day where the push of moisture makes its way across most of Nevada and possibly into southwest Idaho. We have not issued any high risk yet, but we are certainly watching areas of western and northern Nevada up into Idaho that have been on the drier side of this most recent push. So these thunderstorms do look to bring some moisture, but again, we will be watching for the potential for high risk on the first day as these thunderstorms move through. And on Tuesday, that moisture shifts a little bit further north and east, so we'll be watching, again, northern areas of the basin, the northern half of the area, and we will also see those thunderstorms return to Utah. On Wednesday, similar picture with still moisture in place for possibly continued thunderstorm activity, maybe in all areas of the Great Basin. And then looking at the 7-day total precipitation, again, there will be some moisture with these thunderstorms as they move north into Nevada early next week. So we could see some areas of wetting rains, but we'll be watching still for the northern half of the Great Basin for those thunderstorms. If they are on the drier side, certainly could cause significant concerns with how dry things have been. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows warm and dry conditions in the far north. However, that monsoon moisture, again, really does return and push north later in the month, so we could see that moisture extend further north. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.